D's. So you finally found that dream truck. You might want to wait a minute. So, as I sit here and drink my Rip It, which is not sponsored, had some conversations the other day, reading a bunch of things online about guys getting into the owner-operator game. And it's surprising to me how many people think that all they have to do is just show up with the truck and the sky will open up and money will fall. Yeah. What's going to happen is you're going to get pelted by nickels and then beat to the ground by a giant with a sock full of nickels. So, I started thinking, well, what are some of the things I needed to do that I didn't do? And what's some of the bad advice that I got before I started? And there was a whole lot of it. So, this is just fair warning, and take it with a grain of salt, but this is what happened. So, here we go. So, I asked this question with a bunch of my owner-operator friends. I said, what's the one thing that you wish that somebody would have told you about being an owner-op before you even bought the truck, before you signed, what was the one thing? And the number one answer was, I wish I had gotten my taxes figured out. I went in this blind. I didn't know nothing about it. And everybody I know flat out tell you the same thing, including me. When it came to taxes, I got horrible advice. These people were telling me horrible things. People with no skin in the game telling me things that were completely irrelevant. And they're like, well, this is what I done. And all I could think of was, dude, you've had 4 trucks repossessed. Why are you telling me this? Taxes was number one. And it's not just doing your taxes, it's how your taxes are done. On a little side note, you're going to need around $4,000 to $5,000 every quarter. That's just on a conservative estimate. Figure it out with your tax man, but $4,000 to $5,000 is not out of the ordinary. You can figure with the state taxes and all that, especially with the way things are going on right now, somewhere just barely shy of $30,000 a year. You'll get some of that back, don't get me wrong, but you'd rather overpay than owe. And there's a lot of guys that'll argue with me about that, but hey, pay it in little chunks over the year and you won't have to worry about it all at once. You wouldn't believe how many times I heard somebody say, well, I got a friend who, fill in the blank. Your friend's situation and your situation are completely different. He's got some good advice, yes, but you need a tax man and an accountant. So, why? Because you got to pay your quarterlies. Everybody's like, no, I can just pay them at the end of the year. Yeah, you can. But are you going to have $24,000 to pay? No, I have a service. Now, I know several people who got a tax service, and it turned out to be the most horrible thing in the world. They ended up taking all their taxes after the end of the year over to the person they should have taken it to, instead of the service that the company provided, and got their tax bill cut into thirds. Get yourself a good tax man, a reputable tax man, and an honest tax man. And that brings up, everybody says with your quarterlies, on the average put about 9% away, which brings up another point. The one thing that I was worried about was liability, and you heard all these things talked about on the radio about start your own LLC, get the liability out of it. It helps cover you, blah, 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 blah. So I was very concerned. I went to my tax man and I said, well, it's a tax lady. She's very good. I said, tax lady, let's do an LLC. And she said, why? I said, well, because of this, this, and this. She goes, She said, if you get in an accident and you're liable, they take the company. I said, yeah. Well, what's the company? Well, it's me. Yeah, they're going to take you. So, as a sole proprietor, there's no point. If you got employees, it's a point. And what I ended up doing was being a sole proprietor, because we did the math and found out an LLC, all it does is add another step in my taxes, cost me more money, and I don't make it up on the back end. Now, the only reason I could see doing this is if you were paying child support, or you had your wages were being garnished or something like that, and they were taking a percentage of your pay. And yeah, pay yourself a livable wage, let them take their percentage, and then whatever the company makes over that, you know, that's between you and your tax man. But aside from that, as a sole proprietor, there's no difference. It's something I've been through. You can argue with me if you want, but I've been through this with my tax lady. I'm sure there's benefits with it for particular reasons, but just starting off, there's no reason for it. Get yourself a tax ID number and become a sole proprietor. And if you're going to work for somebody, just go to work. Now, let's go back to getting beat up with that bag of nickels. I'll tell you right now, you need to be making, and this is no joke, this sounds like a lot of money, but on the grand scheme of things, it's really not. You need to be making at a bare minimum between $40,000 and $45,000 a quarter. You're like, that's a lot of money. Yes, it is. But I'll tell you right now, if you're leasing a truck, especially if you have a brand new truck, you're going to be dropping $1,000 a week, plus another $250 to $300 a week in insurance, plus another $1,000 a week in fuel. So you've got $2,500 a week, especially you lease drivers, coming out of your paycheck. You need to be making money. So if you got $2,500 a week coming out of your paycheck, and you're only doing $1 a mile plus the surcharge, and you're only getting 3,000 miles a week, guess what? At the end of the day, when all is said and done, you're going to be bringing home $400 to $500 a week. You were doing better than that as a company driver. So last out a quarter or two, and if the job's not paying you at least $40,000 to $45,000 a quarter, it's time to bounce, because you're in this business to make money. You're not in this business to go broke. And remember, on all those sales brochures and all those recruitment posters, look at the fine print, because it always has words like up to and you could, and our drivers make an average of. These aren't promises. This is just empty crap to fill up ad space. So watch yourself, because the struggle is real. These guys, you got to be making money. We're not out here for our health. We're out here to make money. So make sure you're making it, because right now, I don't care what anybody says, they're throwing more money at drivers than ever right now. So if you want it, you better grab onto it. One of the things I've had to learn, and it was the hardest thing to learn, was patience, especially as an owner-operator. Because despite the fact you're doing it the same and going to the same places you were as a company driver, the whole dynamic of your job has changed. You have skin in the game now. The loads matter. So you need to figure out what to get mad about, what not to. Now, if they're sitting there force dispatching you and just being real bad about it, that's a problem. That's a very serious problem, honestly. But you also need to realize that sometimes you just need to suck it up, be patient, and take what's available. Now, if they start abusing you, that's a different story. I'm not going to get into that. But what a lot of these companies rely on, especially with brand new owner-operators, is these brand new guys staying in a company mind frame. They don't want to work any harder than they have to, and if they can keep you in a company mind frame, they can do with you whatever they want. But that's not to say that you should be out abusing your dispatch either. They have a hard job. A lot of them really do. I have great dispatchers. And I've seen behind the curtain, it ain't nothing like I thought. But at the same time, you know, sometimes you just have to eat a little crow and shut up, because no run is forever. And sometimes you can leverage a little bit. But hey, sometimes when they need something and they call you, they will sweeten the pot. And sometimes that's nice. So a little bit of patience. That's something I had to learn the hard way. You can't get mad. Don't get mad about nothing out here, because it's just not going to be profitable. You need to stay profitable. You're out here to make money. One thing I've always preached is that if you're going to be in this owner-operator game, you have to have money. You need to have a nest egg. Especially after you've bought the truck. You need to have at least $10,000 to $12,000 you can sit on. That's no joke. And you need to keep adding to that continually till you get 20, 25,000, give or take. You need to have money. And because you buy these trucks as is, guess what? You leave the lot, you ain't even out of the lot yet, and you blow a clutch, guess what? It's not their responsibility to fix it. Lemon laws don't apply to trucks, and somewhere in that paperwork, everything's sold as is. Now, those warranties they sell you, those third parties, those are almost useless. Now, you might get it fixed if you're still in the lot, but if you make it out on the street, it's going to be a fight. You can fight it out, but you need that truck to be running while you're doing it. So, you need money. And I recommend having about $10,000 you can sit on, because that's what, you know, $10,000 will get you a clutch, it'll get you tires, it'll get you a transmission or a rear end. Won't get you an engine, but it'll get you a lot of stuff on that truck to keep you going. And I recommend adding to it, because, well, trucks are expensive. You're also going to need money for your initial operating cost. You're going to need to pay some things up front when you get the truck. So, I mean, you don't think about things like you might have to pay for your base plates up front. Your company might supply them. They might even float you a loan for them and take them out, which is not a bad idea. But you're going to have to do a, was it the 2290 heavy use tax? They're going to want that right off the bat. You're going to have that. You might have to buy some permits. You're going to have to pay for the GPS and the Qualcomm or PeopleNet or whatever you use in there, the E-Log. Do you want a pre-pass? You're going to have to pay for that. You're going to need money for operating costs. And I figure on top of the $10,000 to $12,000 you've saved for maintenance, you're going to need probably another $3,000 for that. And you're going to use up a good chunk of that, because my base plates are about $1,800. So, and then you have all the other stuff, and if you have to buy anything right off the bat, wow, I remember my first car. You're going to need money, and you're going to need to float. So, just an idea. There's no such thing as no money down, because you're going to need money for everything else. So, before this video turns into one giant long run-off sentence, basically, what the crux of the matter is do your research. 90% of everything that people tell you is going to be crap. It's sad to say that. There'll be a thread of truth in it, and one thing may work for one guy, and it will absolutely not work for you. It's important to find your path, and I've said that before. You know, but when it's your money on the line and your truck and your reputation and all that, you should have some say in what you're doing. Just be discerning. This company I'm with now, when I got hired on, they told me what the pay was. They told me what they did. They didn't make any promises, they said, this is what we do. You can make as much or as little as you want. I said, all right. It's been a great job. It's been a wonderfully great job. My last job, they promised me all sorts of things, and they didn't deliver on any of it. I went broke. I literally was one breakdown from filing bankruptcy when I quit that job. Don't ever let yourself get in that position. When you can see the road narrowing and you see the corner that they're trying to stick you in, it's a good time to start throwing that truck in reverse and getting out of there. Take everything with a grain of salt. Everything. Research it, study it, because most people don't have your best interest in mind. Even everything I'm telling you, if you don't agree with something I said, take what I've told you, research the heck out of it, and find what works for you. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. I'm not out here to tell anybody what to do, but this is what I've learned. So I want you all to be safe. I want you all to be profitable. I get very tired, as I've said before, of watching well-meaning kids get screwed out of their livelihoods and get screwed out of their jobs and screwed out of their trucks because they had unreal expectations, because they were promised something by somebody who didn't have their best interest in mind. If you're going to get in this business, it's a tough road to hoe, but it's a good road. It takes a lot of work. But you're not going to get rich overnight. But you're going to need quite a few things, like I told you, before you get started. You know, if you have all your ducks in a row, you know, make sure you throw all your ducks into the right pond. That's all I'm trying to say. So, because once they hit that pond, them ducks are going to go everywhere. It's food for thought. So I appreciate it. I hope things go well with you. So I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next video.